Hello, welcome back to TEDDS Vault. And today's game on TEDDS Vault is going to be a franchise game. It's going to be not really on. It's not really a franchise. It's more two-parter. The two-parter games that I've played. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, then you're probably going to be surprised when I say today we're going to be talking about Outlast, the Outlast series. So one, the DLC Whistleblower, and two. I haven't played the trials. I don't think I really want to, by the looks of things, because it does take. It's a cooperative game, and I haven't got anybody who I haven't met anyone who's really willing to kind of collaborate regarding another creator. But oh well. So yeah, so Outlast, was really shocking and really surprising. And I'll talk about the first one before I talk about the second one. But the first game, was really shocking. Stuff that I didn't think you could even get away with in a game. Because I it's they are the only games that I have kind of put viewer discretion advised on. Viewer discretion advised, like in the thumbnails and titles, because not thumbnails, the titles. I mean, that would be a lie, but like in the titles and stuff, because like I was shocked by like what was in it. Because, and when I say shocked, I don't mean as in like it like offended me or upset me. I mean in shocked in the ways of like, oh my god, this game does not give a fuck. Because really the game is about, your investigative reporter checking out an asylum slash, a private, you know, experimental facility. And the first game was fantastic. It had its flaws, but I'll talk about what was fantastic about it. So I liked the whole design choice of it, the scares and stuff. They were really clever. The way they used characters and the way they use like, because you'd sometimes with like other like NPCs or other people, and next you were never sure will jump on you or anything like that. Or there'd be just some that would just walk by you and just look at you and anything like that, and that would never be bothered. Some pretty, be pretty scary, because it's just kind of like, are you going to attack me? Or anything like that. Or there'd be somewhere they would, they'd just scream repeatedly at you for no reason. Then you had like the big baddies, so like you had like Chris Walker, I'm trying to think from the first game who was like bad. I never knew his name, but like he was a guy that always had like a bat. Then you had the Naked Twins, which were, they weren't constant. There was only a couple times when you encountered them. So you had like the Naked Twins, and you had like the main villain, which was like the Wall Rider and stuff. But the way they used like other characters that were like supposed to help you, so like the priest and, oh wait, I forgot about the doctor, like the doctor guy who like tricked us and put us in the thing. He was supposed to help us and stuff, and he turned out to be like completely wanted to just chop us up, and just the freakiest shit ever when he like chops off the fingers and stuff, and like ugh. But as I said, and also how they really kind of didn't pull out any of the punches. As I said, when they like this, discuss this will be a bit graphic, so I'll just come out of it. Like I remember once, like you climb up this thing and you find a guy, like you know, like fucking a dead person up the ass, and you'd find like you know them like horribly like like abusing themselves to the point where like I know there was one guy who literally like smashed his head in until his whole it sounded like his skull cracked, and he just continuously did it. And then there was like moments when you would like sleep, you would like slip into places, and like the one that really scared me the most was when you were in the water with Chris Walker. That rhymed. I didn't intend that to rhyme, but I had ran out of the batteries and stuff, so I was actually just like doing it blindly in the dark. It's pretty scary, pretty scary. It's not as scary as I think it was compared to any of the others, to the second one. But like the first one was pretty scary. It did, unfortunately, its faults were, it it was very pattern based, where it was like, find 3 things to unlock this one big thing, and then you go into the next area, and that happened a lot, which I didn't like. I also felt with like some of like the story elements regarding the Wall Rider, that was a bit, didn't really go the places where they were intending it to go, where the Wall Rider kind of takes, because especially the ending when like the Wall Rider takes you over, and there's like a SWAT unit shooting you, shoots you. I didn't quite. I think that ending didn't really make a lot more sense, because I thought this place was supposed to be abandoned. So that didn't really make much sense. Uh, but one thing I did like was the pages and stuff and the documents on other patients, especially about the priest, about him being a person with supposed dementia and stuff, and the philosophy that they live by and stuff. Especially with the twins at the end, when you go to see the priest for the last time, and he's got all these people setting him on fire. And of course, I was the idiot. When I left, I went the opposite direction. It scared the fuck out of me, so I was like, sorry, wrong way. Let's go back this way. Oh, go fucking run. It was a cool game. It was a really good horror game. Shocking, and I'll talk about the viewer discretion after I've spoken about all of them, about it in a good summary way. Okay, so Whistleblower DLC. So the Whistleblower I'd have to say was the least like the least liked one that which was interesting. But like the Whistleblower felt like something that was like overly kind of overhyped. It was just overrated in general. I was excited because I liked the whole, because it was like the tease of like Eddie Gluskin and stuff, and it was which they called the groom, of somebody who would mutilate like male patients into women by chopping their dick off, and you get the gist. And it was exactly the same as the first Outlast, but it just was it took place before the events. It had new characters like the cannibal, and it was really, what's the point of adding new characters when you don't even get to see them, really? And I didn't. It's not that I didn't enjoy. I liked it, but it just was just more of the same. Didn't really put much innovation into anything. It just kind of added new characters for the sake of adding new characters, when really, what's the point of adding these new characters when you never get to meet them? Because there's only a couple characters that explain for not being in there while the protagonist from the first game is in there. I know they kill, Eddie Gluskin gets killed and stuff, but there's Frank the cannibal, which I sort of didn't get. It was kind of okay, well, what the hell, what's the point of having this like hidden cannibal when we never got to meet him in the original in like the game, which only takes place like hours, the night of the DLC. But that's a complaint for a different time. Okay, so we'll move on to Outlast 2. So Outlast 2 was way more shocking. It played around, it played around with like your head and your thoughts of stuff. It had a lot to do with religion compared to like psychiatric help and stuff, and it was a lot more kind of on the basis of like cult stuff, and satanic biblical practices and stuff. And it also had like a side plot which I wasn't expecting, with like about the story about a childhood friend of the protagonist and how she died and how she was killed and stuff. And even though it was a fun game to play, it is kind of like, it's not really cute to think about, because a lot of it was very much kept hidden. You had to keep playing to really find out what happened to this girl, because I started, as you kept playing, you started thinking, oh, was she, you know, was she, you know, how do I say this without getting in trouble? Was she, sexually attacked and violated by somebody, and there was this monster with like 6 arms and stuff that was the manifestation of the thing? And did we see something as a child that we weren't supposed to see? And it was all very creepy, because it had all these like, there was a lot of blood and stuff, and it was real weird. But it also was the one that really kind of, it shocked me the most, because they used a lot of like, it was like the dead baby imagery of like abortions and stuff, and like, and when I say abortion, I mean like pre-abortion type stuff. And the whole like, idea of like, dead baby and stuff. But it did also add like, on like, like mechanic wise, it did take some different things from the first Outlast, and like added new things that had like a lot more of like the audio. You had to pay a lot more attention to the audio, because in the first Outlast you didn't have to do that so much. First Outlast, you sort of kind of, you relied on like sight more than sound. But with like the audio detector, where you could hear people through walls and stuff, and you could sense where everybody was, it's a lot more of a different like challenge to use, if you know what I mean. Like with especially with the, because in the first Outlast you had like the night, and it was the same with Outlast 2, but it was different in the ways of having to navigate your surroundings, because you were outside instead of being contained a lot, and having to hide from like a lot more people than you did in like Outlast 1, because it was normally just one person, and it had like, and there was a lot more kind of like, I felt it was just a lot more, it kind of went over the lines of more like a sexual like nature of things, where like, you'd get licked in the face, and your partner, who you'd like crash in a helicopter with, would be like taken away, and like you'd find her like impregnated, and like the ending is also a bit of a shocker, because like your wife dies giving birth to a baby that you can only see and she can't see, and it's truly freaky, and it also like had a lot more interesting, like not so much interesting, but like a lot more different types of villains. But they were more of the same with what you got from Outlast. You know, one compared, because there was like, especially near in the end, you had like the mountain levels where like I remember you had to hide from like underwater from this woman, this like naked woman, like who like smeared herself in mud wearing this mask and stuff, and like running from like these people. It was really, 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 really like intense places. And when like you like went down to like when you fell down to like the sick, where they left like the sick people, like the dying people, and it was like really like graphic. And I liked it. I thought it was really kind of, cool on that, by that observation, because I'm okay with that type of stuff. And even though I think it was, I spoke about it like I was disapproved of it, which was not my intention at all. I didn't intend to kind of say that I was against it. I just said, and this is talk about the viewer discretion and advice thing, which I will talk about now. So, as I said before, I felt that it was very like intense and very, very graphic. And I remember being a kid on YouTube and watching like graphic stuff, and it being very, sometimes it could get really, really freaky. It never like twisted my head or anything like that, and it never really like gave me ideas of anything. I knew it was fiction, and I left it as fiction. But some people don't really get that idea, because I learned that fact uh from somebody that I'd met who couldn't like, who literally would like he just couldn't separate himself from fiction and reality, and he had like, and of course, he had a mental disorder that like it got me thinking, just like, well, if people are going to be watching my stuff, maybe there's people out there who are like that and may not understand. So I think I'd best leave something there for just in case something ever happens. Because I make videos on games because it's fun. I don't want anybody to get hurt or feel or be triggered by anything. That's not what I'm here for. And I'd done it before. I did it with like on my first playthrough with Spider-Man, where someone shoots himself, and I thought, okay, I think I should kind of say, okay, this one's got something, some suicidal, depiction of suicide and self-harm, so I'll just put that. Even though I probably didn't put it in the right way, like I got better with it, but I felt after playing Outlast 2 and seeing all this stuff, I thought the best course of action was to put it on put a viewer discretion advice saying, hey, listen, this video might not be for you if you are, such and such. And I'd done it for I thought I was going to do it for all of my videos for like people with autism like myself who don't like loud noises and stuff like that, but I felt that I didn't want to do that all the time. But with the viewer discretion advice thing, it's more kind of like insurance. It's sort of kind of like, hey, listen, I warned you. Or you can't handle this, or you're too young, or too, I would say emotionally fragile, but like, just not in a very good place at this time. Please do not watch this. This isn't going to help you or anything like that. And this isn't going to, just isn't for you. And I'm a firm believer that that is at somebody else's hest on their decision. And when it comes to children, I think it's, I think if you trust your child enough to handle that content and leave that content as it is, then that's fine, because it's not up to me. But Glad I could make that clear. Even though like it probably meant nothing. I even discussed this on the Twitchers podcast, talking about the Outlast 2 and the viewer discretion advised thing. It's important, because I used to be like, it's not my fault. Well, I have a responsibility when it comes to what I put out and what I do, because I don't make my content for children, and I don't make my content for any set age group really. It's more for just people like me. And that doesn't mean that they have to be like, my age or anything. It's more kind of people who can handle my content and handle me, stuff that I play. Because I don't play a lot of games like that. Even though I might describe it like I play those games all the time, but like I remember growing up as a kid and being, my parents, my mum tried to like shield me from all this stuff, but eventually she just couldn't because the more people talk about it, the more I was inclined to go see it or try and look it up. And I'm not embarrassed at all about any of that, but back onto like the game. So Outlast as a series, as like a franchise as all, is something that I think is really well done. I think Red Barrel really are very good with what they do. I even though I did mention that they had a lot of like gory stuff, I don't think it was ever meant for nothing. I think it's to kind of insinuate the detail of some of these people are really sick, and some of these people are really like depraved. If that's the right word, because deprived means you've been starved, but like depraved and like just not mentally well and just completely neglected and unkept. Because you can notice that about like the inmates, especially in the first one, is that is that they don't really have any hair, or like a lot of their like facial features are very fucked up. Some of them like don't even have noses. They're just like they've been like stitched up and overlapped and stuff, and like and their eyes are completely some of them are like overlapped and stuff, and just that unkept look of like cheap the cheap look. Which I won't lie is not isn't a isn't really important, but like it's just cool when paying attention to detail and their behaviors as well. Even though like it's not as detailed as the second one was when it came to behaviors, because especially with the second one was they had a lot more character to them. They weren't just generic all the time. They were always they always and they also didn't follow the pattern-based routine like they did in the first one. The first one they had like it was a pattern-based thing where they go room to room, but like in the second one, it was more Alien Isolation where they were a bit more unpredictable. They had like a 6 pattern rather than a 3x3 pattern. Because that's the way I'm able to beat those games. The Outlast games, is that like I always followed the pattern, but as long as I can hide in this place at this time without getting caught, I could probably get away with it. Even though a lot of times I'd just run off and get away with it. all fun at the end of the day. And like the use of night vision as well, I thought was really like cool as well. And sometimes when you use the night vision, like it was like things would like peer out from the mist. And oh yeah, I completely forgot. Like you could record events and stuff. You get like an achievement for like make it. You could make like a full like a, because it kind of reminded me a lot of like Blair Witch, more the second one than the first one. The first, but you know, the first one had the elements of that where it was like very Blair Witch, where it was like on a camcorder. I don't know, 2007, where you would like film like key events and stuff, or you could like film, you know, what was going on. You know, scary, but it was, you know, a very well made horror game. So yeah, that's the episode on Outlast. What all I can really say about it is, especially when I was making it, I remember I made it. When did I make the first one? Because the second one came around the same time that I made. That I did like actually it was before I left. Before I left secondary school. Oh come on, it's somewhere. We can find it. Bingo. Ow, wow, I did the first one in April. I did Whistleblower in May? Yeah, I did it in May. And then I did Outlast 2 in... Ooh, when did I do that? August. So yeah, around about this time. But like, I remember when I was making the first one, like, you know, like I would like, even though I was scared, I would literally like completely be like busting with energy just to kind of do another episode. So yeah, that's you know what I have to say about Outlast. Remember when I made the second one, I was like, it was about this time. Okay, well now I'm done now.